Hey, I'm Lasse and this is my channel F1 Follower. And today's topic is sprint races? Question mark. So I have collected some arguments or thoughts that people have said mostly online but also in real life when I have discussed with them about Formula 1 and sprint races and are they good thing or a bad thing, and let's see what we can find here. So always the first argument against sprint racing is it's non-traditional, and that is completely nonsense. It's a wrong way of driving Formula 1. It's true that we have had very similar structure for Grand Prix racing. Let's say in the 60s it's been formulated every time very similarly, but Formula 1 has changed its racing a lot and has changed the qualifyings, and the race length have varied and other things, and I don't think we should have anything really set in stone. Okay, we need a race and we need a qualifying, I think that's fair point, but I don't think the sprint races are really a problem in that sense that we cannot have them because our ancestors didn't have them. And we have had sprint races on many other disciplines, lower formula levels and other racing series, so I think it's quite nonsense to say that we cannot have something new because we never have had it. And then always the first positive note is that, well, sprint racing gives action all the 3 days, and let's put a small OK mark there. That's true, at least for the more casual fans, and there's nothing wrong to be a casual fan. By definition, majority of people are always casual fans, no, but for example for me the free practices are actually quite interesting, and so I don't completely buy the argument that it gives action to every day. Yes, more meaningful action in a way of points and grid position, but it's not really the problem, I think, even now. And second thing, the people against the sprint races is what they say is it lowers the importance of individual races and qualifying, and it dilutes the meaning of the race. And I actually agree with that. By definition it does that. But I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. Or I don't actually think it's a bad thing at all. I want more races, more racing, longer season. I know that many people don't want that, and they want maximum 20 races, maybe even less. And everybody is entitled to their opinion, but I want racing every weekend. But in principle the argument is true. It's not nonsense. And then there's another big plus, that it's great for organizers and for the venues and the people who make the racing happen, like from a standpoint of organizing the whole event. And it's true, and I think it's ties to the a bit for this point that it gives meaningful action for very meaningful and important action for every 3 days. And I think that if the organizers believe that they get more money from the fans and more fan interest from sprint racing, I think in a financial sense, at least for a financial sense, it's a no-brainer to do sprint races. Not maybe every week, but I would actually want to see sprint races every time and drop the Monaco Grand Prix. And then there's two things. Minus argument against less practice and testing. The testing is minimal these days, and the sprint race weekend makes it even more minimal. And some people say it's bad and some people say it's good, and I think both are true. I would also want to see more testing. More Formula 1 is more good. Okay, there's some limit, it can't be every day and not really every weekend, but more is more. But also less practice, it's good for more unpredictable racing. And then there's minus. I have heard some people, I have to watch more Formula 1. Like, if you don't like the sport, don't watch it. And I actually think that more races is good even for people who don't want to watch every race. Because then there's you miss a bit less when you miss one race, one weekend. I sometimes miss events. I have already this season missed multiple events, very many free practices, but even qualifying and bit of the sprint race in Imola and some of the race too last time. But I think that we have so much racing now that it doesn't matter so much. Like if you missed 2 races in, let's say, 70s, you missed like 1/5 or 1/6 of the season. And people say that there's more to watch, and that's a counter argument. No, actually the same argument, but it's true, there's more to watch. As I said, there's some limit, but personally I'm not even close to the limit. I'm always a bit disappointed when there's a week without racing. And on the summer break I'm very disappointed. I don't understand it, but it's a tradition. Some say it's boring to have sprint races, and there is some validity that it ties to this lowers the importance of the qualifying and the race. Basically, the sprint race makes the race longer, so if you qualify out of place, you kind of get a reset, or at least an opportunity to reset your starting place on the race, on the sprint race. But on the other hand, even if you qualify well, you make a mistake, you can be at the bottom. You are at the bottom on the race also if you spin in the first lap. But I think that creates some excitement if one of the top drivers spins out in a sprint race and then has to fight back on the race. But of course it would be a little bit sad if there would be a sprint race weekend and something exciting happened. Mick Schumacher in P3 and then he would drop like a stone on the sprint race for some reason. It would be a bit sad, but it is what it is. but it's put a very small. Okay, Mark. Some people say it's more exciting, and I actually believe that it's more racing. More is not always more, but in this situation, more is most of the time more. I don't think it's for every track, but the Imola sprint race was very exciting, and now the cars can follow each other, so it's much more exciting than before. I think they could make some rule with the tires. Maybe bring even the, if they are not using the softest compound on the weekend, the softest possible, they could even maybe bring the softest compound to the sprint race. And then give an option to use that or the hardest. So you could be very fast but drop off, or you could be really slow from the line but be able to push whole way through. Maybe some food for thought. Somebody would say that that would be an artificial rule, but I think that all sports are artificial. Like running is not artificial. We run, we race there, and whichever is for the first one. That is not an artificial race, but in a Formula 1 I don't think there's artificial rules or any more artificial rules than anything else. Why does there have to be 4 tires? It's artificial. As is the different tire compounds. I like sports. I don't believe that the Formula 1 should be made show first, but the sport first, but all sports are artificial in a sense, so I'm not against some artificial rules. But so, my final thoughts are that I agree with sprint races. They are good addition. They may not always work, but every race is not fireworks and excitement, and has never been. There's always been dull races. Sports go sometimes that way, that the best are just best, and the second best is second best, and the third best is third best, and everything goes according to plan, and boringness happens. But we should also embrace the boringness sometimes. It's not all the time overtaking and fighting and position changes. Sometimes it's tactical, slow. We should enjoy it when it happens. It makes the boring, no, not the boring, it makes the exciting parts more exciting, that we have sometimes some boring parts. These are my very confusing and non-organized thoughts today. We will see you next time.